All right, guys. Welcome to a special edition of the Friday show. Normally we're doing some DFS strategy at this time, but I had to bring in my guy, Cort Smith from Bet the Prop. We got to talk Super Bowl props. Cort and his team have been deep in the weeds, trying to find value, trying to find some plus EV bets for us on Sunday. Cort, how you doing?
Living the dream, buddy. Living the dream. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It feels good. You know, I've gotten caught up in a tidal wave of Top Shots and all this, so it's nice to get back to my roots as a football guy. And also, longtime viewers of this YouTube channel will remember you and I did some prop bet streams. I mean, that had to have been 2 or 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first year we started, we did it, January. Yeah, 3 years ago.
And I was having major technical difficulties back then before I found StreamYard. So today's show will be much smoother, I think.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, I'm actually, it's funny. I'm sort of in the same boat as you, like a hardcore football guy that's sort of been swept up in NBA. So honestly, the last month has been a huge education in NBA for me between Top Shots and player props going full steam. So yeah, this week was getting back into NFL was a little bit of a strange feeling, I have to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting game. This slate doesn't leave a lot for me as a guy who likes under betting a lot.
Yeah.
You know, it could be a pretty explosive, exciting game. So we're going to be going a little light this week, but there's a lot of fun stuff to go through.
And just so at the top, people know what you guys have over at Bet the Prop. Obviously you have the site and you guys do a decent amount of free plays. But I would say the kind of crown jewel of Bet the Prop is your guys' Slack channel and that community. And that's where you kind of tip people off to the plays before the line moves too much.
Yeah, that's basically the heart of our community. We love doing the content and doing some good analysis on the site, but the real money is in the Slack community. We save all the best stuff for there. We don't do a very good job advertising, I don't think, of what we're doing and how much value we're giving people. People in there love it. We give away tons of value, not just the player props and stuff, but like just all sorts of random, like we got Jack from RotoViz doing college basketball props for us. Matt Jones is doing PGA head-to-heads. I'm doing some Formula One. Like we got all kinds of stuff going. So it's been a pretty great community. And I got to say, like, my community is pretty special. I'm always blown away by how sharp these guys are. And we're all just making each other sharper. So it's a pretty awesome community. If you're on the fence, I'm happy to give you a discount. DM me, whatever. We'll sort you out and make sure we take care of you.
Yeah, we got a link down to the Bet the Prop site in the show notes, and then you guys can find links to the Slack. But yes, I haven't dipped my toes into too much that is out there, but just from people who scroll through Twitter and they see the guys, posted their records and they're trying to get people into Telegram groups and all that shady shit. Bet the Prop is the most reputable gambling community that I've personally found so far, and I will personally give my stamp of approval to Cort and all those guys over there. So let's get into it. First off, I mean, is there anything you like here with the overall spread and total for the game? I think it opened up at like 3.5, and I think it's now to 3. Is there anything there? Is this line too efficient?
I don't play totals too much. I did take the once it moved to -3 on the first Monday morning, I did take Chiefs -3, -110. I think is the price I got, or -105. I think -110. And it's kind of been bouncing around since then. And I like that position. I'm not a huge spread better personally, but I think I've bet the Chiefs in every playoff game going back the last 2 years, and I've done pretty well overall. I really like the Chiefs here. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better coach. I think they have the better team. I just feel like we're seeing a lot of this, and I felt it in Buffalo last week and the week before that. Like, just seems like a lot of people trying to convince themselves that the Chiefs aren't awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems people are trying to tell themselves this story, and I'm not really buying it. I think the Chiefs are awesome. I think they have the better quarterback, the better team. So -3 seems like a solid value. I wouldn't run out and slam it, but that seems to be, I mean, a lot of people are kind of on the Chiefs -3. Looks like there's some big money rolling in late in the week on Bucks plus 3.5, but
I think that was just Mattress Mac, running.
Yeah, oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it is interesting too, because I guess my snap take, if someone said, "Hey Pete, what do you think the line for this game should be?" I probably would have said Chiefs -5, -6 or something. Yeah. But I assume 2 factors. One, you do kind of get the home field advantage or whatever, not necessarily with crowd and stuff, but just them getting to, sleep in their own beds for this whole week leading up to the Super Bowl. And then I also assume some of the offensive line concerns for the Chiefs might be, those are the only kind of two factors I can think of why this would be, not a bigger line for the Chiefs. Yeah,
I think the offensive line stuff was probably playing the biggest factor in this throughout the week. And then just waiting to hear, like, kind of confirm that, Mahomes' toe, the health. I mean, there's a few unknowns in terms of like AB and Sammy Watkins, but I don't really think that's going to be affecting the line. So yeah, I really think it's kind of been this offensive line, and probably, I think we're going to see a lot of action in the next few days. I think there's probably some bigger shark money that's been waiting for the line to do something. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I just have a unit on -3 and I'm happy to sweat it that way.
How would you, I feel like this is probably a dynamic you deal with a lot, in that you guys are making very positive expected value bets. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find these, inefficiencies in the market. They're small edges, but you hammer them over and over. And over time, that results in a really nice ROI. Now we have a bunch of people, say, people like me, who aren't grinding out these bets, and now they just want action on the Super Bowl. What are some of the kind of things that people should be looking out for to make sure they are, they do want to gamble, but they also want to get it in good, and stuff with juice and line shopping? What I guess would you say to people who want to approach this in a smart way for Sunday?
Yeah. So, the Super Bowl in general, like what we're going to see with the main markets here, with receiving yards, with receptions, the standard stuff, that stuff is pretty efficient by now. I mean, just in general, those are going to be the most efficient football lines we see all year. And that's by this time of the week, especially. But I think with this, go light on those. I mean, for me, I really do try to treat this as another week. And I know it's kind of a wet blanket attitude that doesn't get people excited. So if you do want action, I totally get that. Like, I think a lot of the secondary markets, there's definitely some value. You definitely have to like do the work and get through a lot of the stuff, and we'll give you guys some suggestions later. But I sort of think like these secondary markets, like the first quarter stuff, the first half stuff, when it comes to props, like those are not lines that we usually see during the regular season. Like first half passing yards, for example, first quarter passing yards. So line makers haven't had all year to make those efficient. So I think like in those kind of markets, there's some value to be had. And I think that's kind of the stuff you want to focus on. If you have offshores and that's your kind of thing, I think that you can look around a little bit more for the stuff that domestics won't allow, along the lines of national anthem and stuff like that. But yeah, I sort of think these, passer rating, that's one we're going to get to, like a passer rating market. We never see that. So I think there's like in that kind of stuff, there's a bit of value left, and that's probably where you should be focusing. And I'll add to that, and we'll probably get into this a bit more later, but with the Super Bowl especially, like there's going to be a ton of late juice coming in on the overs on these. So like a decent strategy might be to just wait till Sunday morning and just like get the unders you want. And I think by that time they might be pretty inefficient if you want to play unders.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I know some stuff, one of your guys' official plays, which has already moved a ton, and you were messaging with me about this one early in the week. It was Darrell Williams under 40.5 yards. My kind of gut take was a little hesitant, just because I think there's a chance Darrell could still be kind of the main back for them here. But clearly the market agreed with your take in this line being off, because now everywhere I see it, I saw it all the way down to 29.5. This morning somewhere
29.5, like -140 or something too. Yeah. I mean, we knew that at that time that it was going to be that number was going to move. And really like, so it's kind of funny. I messaged you and you told me you're thinking, and like, you're right, you're thinking, but it doesn't really matter to me because we're going to get the best of the number. And that's all I'm really trying to do at the end of the day. Like at that time when we posted the under 40, it was already like 34.5 in a few spots.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good indication that number was pretty bad and was going to move. So now it's interesting. And now you have a situation where it's 30 or sub 30 in some spots, and kind of presents. Now that's an interesting line. Like the under 40 was kind of a slam to me, but now the 30 is kind of an interesting line. Are you, since you faded the under 40, are you betting the over 30?
I mean, I wish I would have just tailed, and then it, like you said, this would be an incredible middle opportunity, get a spread at 10 yards right there, probably right in the range of his, median outcome. Seems like the perfect middle. I'm probably going to stay away from it, but yeah, I don't mind the over. I still think there's a chance that CEH is not a huge part of this game plan, just the way Andy Reid has been willing to commit to the hot hand. And that really hasn't been CEH at any point this year since week 1. So I like the middle angle there, but probably stay away if you didn't get it early, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to pound the over now. I agree. I think on both sides, I mean, there's a ton of uncertainty with the skill players. Like, beyond Tyreek Hill, we really don't know totally what's going on with the Chiefs wide receivers. AB is kind of up in the air. Cameron Brate hit the injury report yesterday. What's going to happen with Rojo? What's going to happen with Fournette? I mean, all these skill players have a ton of questions. So it's tough. So for Williams, I agree. I think there's a good chance that he gets a lot of the carry, but I mean, that probably still only equals 8 or 9 carries, right? Like, Chiefs don't want to run the ball. They didn't run it in the matchup with Tampa Bay earlier this year. They haven't been running it much in the playoffs. They don't really have. They're going to be passing 70%. So I really don't think there's going to be much more than 8 or 9 carries there for D-Will. And at that rate, he needs to get kind of a 5.0 yards per carry to hit 40. So I really like that spot. And then at 3, yeah, I think you can just pass on that.
The other one of your guys' official plays was Tyreek Hill over 6.5 receptions. I know some places now I'm seeing it at 7.5. Seems like that's moving. Do you still like that at 7.5, or is that 6.5 really the number you're looking for?
Yeah, I thought that might actually hold on. When I posted this play last week when it first opened, I said that I predicted it would move to maybe 8 or 8.5, and it actually held really well almost all week. At 6.5, we started to see some like 6.5 minus 130. So I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong about what was going to happen with this. And then, yeah, I think it was just overnight or this morning, we saw it move to 7.5 with some juice to the under. Yeah, I'm leaving that alone. I don't think you can really chase that. I like our 6.5 position. 7.5 is getting up there. 8 is a lot of catches. Although we have seen him, he's got double-digit targets in 7 of 9, 9, 8, 9 in his last 3 playoff games, and of course he absolutely roasted the Bucs. So there's a lot to like here for sure. But just looking at it from a pure numbers point of view, there's a big difference between 6.5 and 7.5. Maybe wait until Sunday morning, see if it moves to 8.5. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, the Tyreek too, like his role this year is so different than it has been in previous years, where I think a lot of people still had the kind of, connotation or stigma of being like, he's a deep ball threat. He could disappear in these games. They're now manufacturing touches for him in the same way they did with Tyreek or Travis Kelce. So 6.5 seems like a smash if you can get that on the over.
Yeah, we're probably going to see 1 or 2 of those tap passes that they love to do, right? That like if you're a prop bettor, you know what I mean. When a QB's like this, it's a big difference between this and this, right? That can make or break your prop. So we've seen them do that with a couple times with Kelce. So wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. So I like that position, but yeah, those are the only 2 official positions we have in this game at this point.
Yeah, when we're gonna get into some other ones, see if we can maybe find an angle that we like as we talk it out. So Cort had put together some stuff that looked interesting to him. We're just gonna kind of run through these, figure out if there's any unique angles. If you guys have in the chat a prop you guys want us to take a look at, we also got a bunch of aggregate projections up too, so we can give a good idea of where the market is. One interesting one I bet early in the week, I heard a couple people on. I was talking to my buddy Brian Hooper. He was on this under. I heard Leone was on it. The Travis Kelce under 100.5 receiving yards is the one I got it at. It seems like everyone's all over the place. And, Cardi at the Blitz has him at 90. 4 for 4 is pretty bullish on him, has him up at 107. Labs and them right there at that prop average. I'm guessing you assume that line's pretty efficient at 100 based on those projections.
I don't know. You can never really say a line of plus 100 is efficient. Like it's just, it's crazy. But at the same time, it's like you could totally do it and you wouldn't even blink. So, I mean, it's a pretty easy pass for me, but it would be under or nothing there, especially at the plus 100. I mean, but yeah, I don't want to play that one, to be honest. I love unders because I think they're fun, but even that one for me does not sound like fun at all. But yeah, it's under or nothing.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of these, with the Bucks backfield, because I think that's another situation where there's probably fragility in projections and guesswork on how that backfield work is going to be distributed. I would say based on, seeing Showdown sentiment and all this stuff, the market definitely prefers Fournette here. But is there any value to some of this Ronald Jones stuff, either from, yardage, points, or receptions?
I think so. I mean, I'm probably not going to be touching any of them. Actually, that's not true. I did bet one of those. I'll tell you about. Yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty. So, I think that these lines sort of have some assumptions baked into them. And I think that you're probably seeing the same thing in DFS, sort of assumptions about how this backfield is. And people seem very confident in Fournette sort of being the guy. And I get it. And that's probably the case. But at the same time, he was benched in week 14. And it's Leonard Fournette. And like Rojo is just better. I think we can all agree he's better. So, and he's healthier, right? Like it's a bit of an unknown, but Rojo is going to be back. If you bring up the Rojo's year, I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is there's a ton of recency bias built into these lines. And if you zoom out a little bit, like really what you see with Bruce Arians, like, I mean, he's the OG guy when it comes to screwing with us on RBs. Like if you bet Tampa Bay props running back all this year, you've had the carpet pulled out from under you a number of times, right? Like, so to sort of assume that Arians is going to do one thing here, I think is a bit of a mistake. So I think if we can take advantage of that on the other side, I think that's definitely worthwhile. Yeah, we're taking a look at Rojo here.
Trying to get
the guy was a monster, right? Like he was awesome all year. So like I get that it's a Super Bowl and like Brady wants the veteran guy in there and Fournette's been doing better, but like really, like nothing should surprise us here. Like I think the range of outcomes is pretty wide open. I mean, Ronald Jones has done very well this year. But yeah, I want to talk about this Fournette one because this is really interesting. These are the Rojo fantasy points. We're going to come back to the Rojo fantasy prop later. But yeah, the Fournette one's really interesting. That came out at 3.5 receptions. He has, I think, 5, 5, and 4 in the playoffs receptions. So, I mean, he's been busy. And then one of my guys, prop bet guy, put out Fournette over 3.5, and it moved to like minus 140. And then Raybon yesterday put out same bet, but he put it out at like minus 140. So Raybon put out like over 3.5, minus 140, and then it moved a ton. And now it's at like, I think plus 135 on DK. So at plus 135, our break-even point is, I think like 42.6%, something like that, 42.7. So like we only need for him to get under 3 receptions 43% of the time to break even. And he's only gone over 5 times in 15. So he goes over about 33% of the time if we look at the big picture, and we only need 43% of the time. So like that's a huge gap, and it makes a huge assumption. So I kind of like a little sprinkle on that Fournette under 3.5 because of the price. Again, plus 135 at even money, I'd be passing. And I actually played an under 4 that was there on the weekend at even money at minus 114. So I really like that because I get a bit of a positive free roll with the 4. If he lands on 4, I push. And then I think he's got a lot fewer 5s in his range of outcomes than he does 0s, 1s, 2s, and 3s.
Yeah, I can see why it's become a trendy bet, just because you tell yourself, let's look at the game script. They're going to be trailing to the Chiefs. Rojo isn't getting the early down work. They're in pass mode, and Fournette's the back on the field getting the checkdowns. That's probably the narrative people are telling themselves, but we've seen negative game scripts this year, like you just said, where he's not eclipsing that total with, just smash regularity.
Yeah. Do you have a feel on this backfield at all for how it's going to shake out? I mean, I'm sort of just expecting the unexpected, really.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I feel like Arians has been one of the more finicky coaches with his running back usage, and nothing would surprise me. I thought it was I think it was 2 games ago, maybe against the Saints, where I expected to see more Rojo, and then it was all Fournette the first few drives. Because the thesis is generally, positive game script or neutral game script, it's going to be Ronald Jones out there. And then he just comes out with Fournette. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if they open up the Super Bowl with 2 straight drives full of Ronald Jones carries. Like, I don't think that we can really project what Arians is going to do. And I think it's kind of safe to say, whereas with the Chiefs, I feel like Andy Reid trusts Darrell Williams more than CEH right now. Whereas with Arians, I feel like he's skeptical on both of his backs, and it's just however he's feeling at the moment.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's all over the place. We've seen it all year. So I think to make assumptions on what we're going to see, if we can take advantage of that and go to the other side of it and find some of the edge on if it doesn't work out like that, I think there's definitely an edge there to be had if you want to go, you can take some Rojo overs, you can take some Fournette unders if you feel that way. But I think to assume that Fournette is going to be exactly what we've seen the last 3 weeks in the playoffs, like, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. And I was just pulling it up. Obviously it's a very small sample size and it could be noisy, but just looking back to their game, when the Chiefs did get that big lead, you look at the score 27-24, the game was never that close because they had that Tyreek Hill explosion early and then the Chiefs kind of let off the gas. But in that game, Ronald Jones, 9 carries, 66 yards. He actually had the reception for a TD, 37-yard TD. And then Fournette, not really used on the ground, 3 for 10 in a negative game script. And then he did get the 3 receptions for 10 yards there. So if you're under that 3.5 in that instance, in this kind of game script, you can see paths to it working out, even if they are down 2 touchdowns early.
Yep. I think 3 is probably the most common outcome in here for sure. 3 makes a lot of sense.
Let's move now to maybe some of these other leans here. Looking at, I'm looking at our sheet here. We got a little, Cameron Brate stuff. Obviously one thing we're keeping an eye on is the Antonio Brown, situation, because that would certainly boost the projections of Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, and even a guy like Cameron Brate. Where are you at right now, with some of these other Bucs pass catchers?
I'm kind of just waiting for confirmation on AB. I haven't bet anything on the Bucs pass catchers at all. I almost bet that Brate under 3.5 receptions last night, but just kind of getting the sense that injury thing is maybe some just distraction or gamesmanship or whatever. Not too sure there. And just kind of want to see what happens with AB. I'm assuming he's going to play. I think that's sort of what it's looking like at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I really like the under 3.5, but at the same time, it does seem like they like to funnel to the tight ends a lot lately. And, we've kind of heard these rumblings of Brady wanting a little bit more of a dink and dunk game plan in this one, for whatever that's worth. So I don't know, maybe Brate gets his roll back, but we don't really know how healthy he is. So I don't know, that one's tough. I liked it more last night and now I'm hedging a bit.
I mean, it does, again, a narrative angle that makes sense that the Bucs would want to dink and dunk, extend these long drives. If it was the Patriots here versus the Chiefs, you'd be imagining a ton of James White and Julian Edelman, trying to slow things down. So maybe Brady is trying to pump that kind of game plan here. And again, looking back at when they played earlier, Gronk did have the 6 for 106 and Cameron Brate 4 for 34. So maybe there is a weakness there over the middle that they might want to attack. And as far as the AB stuff, I did just pull it up. He did return to practice in full yesterday. So yeah, he'll probably play. And then on the other side of the ball, Sammy Watkins has been logging limited practices as well. So I'm going to guess he guts it out as well.
Yeah, I think so. And that kind of ruins. There was another spot I have a little lower on the sheet here for Scotty Miller over 1.5 receptions plus 130. But yeah, it's tough. I pulled out the AB splits and, he's averaging 2.14 targets for 1.14 receptions in 7 games with AB active. So if we think AB is maybe not 100%, then I kind of like that Scotty Miller because he is basically the number 3 guy now. He's playing ahead of Tyler Johnson. So I think he would be the first guy to kind of steal a few snaps in 2 wide receiver sets if AB kind of sits out. So maybe that means an extra, 4 or 5 snaps if we're lucky, an extra target if we're really lucky. But yeah, I was hoping I had that earmark that over 1.5 for plus 130 if we had no AB. But if it looks like AB is going, I'm not sure you can do much there.
Yeah. You mentioned the Mahomes stuff, the passer rating. What book is that at?
DK. Here, I'll pull it up on my screen. Yeah,
maybe share this one with us because like you said, so much of this stuff gets beat up the lines, but there's some of these markets where they aren't as solidified. I assume the passer rating isn't the hottest of prop bets that are getting hit here.
Yeah, and that one actually hasn't moved all week. Okay, sorry. This is the first time I've done this.
No worries.
Chrome tab. Where's that DK? Here we go.
All right, let's get this up on the screen here. We're over at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Okay, so we want the let's see. This is a mess this year. Okay, so quarterback props. Here we go. Passer rating. So yeah, 105.5. So yeah, my guy Hassan dug up a couple stats on this one. Yeah, we like the over a lot. He averaged 111.5 in the playoffs last year. He had a 124.9 rating versus Tampa Bay this year in that game, and then 125 passer rating last week versus Buffalo. So I think we need a couple of interceptions here, or a really inefficient game to go under 105.5 from what we're seeing, and it's kind of tough to project that. So that seems like a good one. Actually, all the quarterback overs I got to say in this game don't look too bad.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those other ones. Yeah, Mahomes, 40.5 pass attempts. Where has he been at most of the season?
He's been a bit game script dependent. So in games that are less competitive and projected to be less competitive, we're seeing him down, between 35, 40. And then I think in games where it's been -3 or 5, I can't remember, we're seeing him around like 43 pass attempts per game. So, and projections are really bullish on this. I mean, across the board, we're seeing, I think 43 is the low.
Wow.
Oh, I actually lost my projection sheet. I think I closed that tab. But yeah, I'll find that. But yeah, I think the low projection on that was like 43.
Yeah.
So if we're expecting
attempts,
this to be close, I mean,
yeah. No, the over on 40.5 looks good. I mean, Blitz is at 44, 4 for 4 at 45.5, and then Labs is kind of right on the dot there. For the pass
I like
attempts.
the over on the 105.5. I think that's definitely worth the sprinkle. The only problem with that bet is sweating it, because I don't know how to calculate passer rating live. So you might have to just wait till Monday morning when that's calculated to find out if you won.
Well, that's probably why it hasn't moved much, because people are not getting a ton of sweat equity out of that.
No, it's tough.
But as I've said, the way you approach the Super Bowl is you bet so many different things that you don't know which individual play is good for you, and you just check your portfolio of bets the next day.
Exactly. So it's not a bad angle that way. So I like the over 105.5. Some other ones we could talk about here if we go to I think there's a matchups. Yeah. I think Brady is like, as much as I really like, oh, this is annoying, this drop down box. Is that still working for you, Pete?
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, I think as much as I like Mahomes in this game, like, man, tons of value on Brady here. Like 120 completion percentage, 133 passer rating, 130 passing yards. So like, and really when you think about it, I mean, Brady's range of outcomes are not that much different from Mahomes. Certainly less ceiling, but not that much less ceiling, and a decent amount of medium outcomes that are the same as Mahomes. So I like Brady across the board here, pretty much on these head-to-heads value-wise.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense too with the kind of the value you're getting on all those plus numbers.
Yeah, it's just a price thing, right? Like again, at 133, we need to win like 42.5% of the time to win. So, I mean, when you're getting those kind of odds, like in the long term, you just, you need to hit a couple of them, really. I mean, those are such good odds.
Yeah. And even the just the Brady over yards, it looks like 295 and a half. I mean, that over seems pretty easy right there.
For sure. I mean, I am a little worried. The Chiefs are certainly an underrated pass defense. But I'm not sure that matters here. Like, I think it really just comes down to game script. Like, if we think it's going to be a shootout, and the game total last I checked was 56, then yeah, I don't know that, like, the Chiefs are certainly efficient, and I think they're a little bit undervalued as a pass defense. But yeah, if we're expecting a shootout here, I'm not sure it really matters. And yeah, projections again on Brady, like, what are we seeing here? Yeah, 329, 334, and then the low is Labs at 298, which is still right at the number. So yeah, I like those. I'm not going to bet a bunch of overs here, but that would be one I would strongly consider.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where obviously if they get 2 touchdown lead, the Bucs, they're going to run the ball a ton, but most outcomes, negative, or most likely outcomes negative in neutral game scripts, I mean, they're going to be throwing a ton. And it seems pretty unlikely that they hang a big lead on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of outcomes in the game, but yeah, Tampa Bay getting out to a huge lead doesn't seem like one of them. So you would have to think Brady is going to have his foot on the gas for most of this game. And, especially looking at that's a 10% gap to projections pretty much. So that's pretty significant. That's not an edge you see very often this time of year. So yeah, I don't know if I want to ignore it completely. Certainly one worth looking at for sure.
All right, we got a few questions in the chat here, so we can see how we're feeling about some of these. Let's first grab Dovey here. What about Brady passing yards plus 30 or Mahomes passing yards? I would guess this falls into that bucket we were just talking about of assuming you're getting plus odds on the Brady side. I'm guessing you kind of like that, Cort?
Oh, so sorry, this is Brady plus 30 yards against Mahomes? Yeah. It's a similar idea to the DK one we saw before. 30 yards. I mean, just looking at projections. Well, projections for I mean, there's about a 20-yard gap in projections on average. 19 yards. So yeah, I like the value on the head-to-heads with Brady for sure. I mean, I don't think the range of outcomes are that much different.
All right, Eric's really going to test our knowledge now because he's saying, how do we feel about the sack props on both sides? Have you been into the IDP weeds with these at all?
A little bit. I haven't looked at the individual players. I do like, actually, I think DK, I'll have a quick look here. But I do like, they were offering up last night. Here we go. Team props. Damn, I can't find it. All right. But anyway, somewhere on DK, there is a over 4.5
total sacks, right?
Total sacks. And it was plus 120 last night. Turnover drive. Oh man, this is a disaster. This setup. Game specials. Yeah, it's on DK here somewhere.
Yeah.
The idea being here, Tampa Bay is pretty much fully healthy. Vita Vea's back. They averaged 3 sacks per game in the regular season, and the Chiefs averaged 2. Tampa Bay was top 4, and the Chiefs were, I think, 18th or 19th. So they're kind of middling, and the Chiefs are elite. They're getting 3 sacks a game. Chiefs 2. And especially if we think that, this O-line thing is going to be an issue, right? So if we're thinking that if we're thinking that Mahomes is going to have a lot of dropbacks, 40 plus dropbacks. And if we're thinking that KC's line is going to struggle a little bit, missing a bunch of starters, then we're probably going to see a lot more activity around Patrick Mahomes, I would think, than we normally would. And Tampa Bay certainly capable of getting to him, averaging 3, KC averaging 2. We're getting plus money on over 4.5. So I really like that angle if you can find it on DK.
Yeah, if you can find it. And there's still also, I know they're saying he's pretty much 100% with the toe stuff that he'd been dealing with, but even if he's not, that's probably another little notch in that bet's belt, just knowing he might not be scrambling as much either.
Yeah, definitely. It's who knows how healthy he is there, but yeah, it's sort of one more little out for us.
Yeah. So that one's interesting. Yeah, let's talk some of this, the fun stuff here. I heard people talking that the odds of, if you wanted to bet the Bucs money line, to just bet Brady MVP instead at a better line, just with the thesis, it would be pretty impossible for the Bucs to win and Brady not to get the MVP. Do you like that angle?
Definitely. I think I did a similar thing with Mahomes last year when I didn't want to play the money line against San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, let's try to figure out a scenario where, what has to happen in order for Tampa Bay to win the game and Brady not to get MVP? Probably a couple punt returns or something like that. Maybe 1 punt return. I don't know. It's going to take something pretty crazy.
Even if Mike Evans scores 3 touchdowns, it's, Tom Brady threw 3 touchdowns. Yeah. So it's really hard. And I mean, last year was kind of the screaming example of that. I mean, Damian Williams went just absolutely nuclear. Still didn't win it because the MVP voters want to vote for the QBs.
Yeah. Did you think that was the right decision?
I mean, it's now you get back into that question of, most valuable player. I mean, I thought he had the best performance, but obviously they win that game, without Damian Williams and some other running back probably too, So it's like, it's the semantics of what the award means.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think it was a discussion, but yeah, I guess if you want to frame it one way or the other, you could make a case for Williams, but I mean, it wasn't a game if Mahomes wasn't on the field, so it's kind of an easy discussion for me. But I thought it was really interesting. People were losing their minds over that last year.
I think the reason why people were losing their minds is because Damian Williams had become a trendy long shot MVP bet. I think people were getting him at like 25-1. And so everyone was pretty invested in trying to get that to hit, because you basically make that bet. You get the outcome you were hoping for when you make that bet, and you still don't win.
Yeah, that would make me pretty salty. So yeah, I like that play a lot. If you want to take Tampa Bay, take Brady, because I mean, it's just not going to be anybody else. It's just impossible to see. And you can probably do a similar thing with Kansas City if you want to take. It's kind of an alternate way to take the money line. Maybe there's a few more people that could get MVP there, like Kelsey possibly, but it's hard to see. If, like you say, if we didn't see it last year after that Williams performance, it's probably just automatic for the QB. So I like taking Mahomes for MVP as well, if you want to use that as a proxy for the money line.
Yeah, and are there any other? Is there anything fun we can do in these long shot MVP markets, or is it's just a pretty bad bet with how heavily weighted it is toward QBs?
The MVP? Yeah, I think so. I think the MVP, there's not much value there. I think if you want to get some long shot stuff, one of the ones we could look at is most yards from scrimmage. I'll see if I can bring that up.
Let's see. How are we doing in the chat? Do we think the national anthem will go long since a duet? Now we're talking, Lou. Now we're talking. Thoughts on Justin Trudeau being mentioned by The Weeknd during the halftime show, says Matt Jones. I mean, this is where the true grinders really shine. I mean, Cort, you had showed me a screenshot. We were going to try to guess what color jacket The Weeknd was wearing for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff's gone. This year has been kind of crappy for this stuff for whatever reason. I feel like we had a lot more options last year. Of course, domestics aren't allowed to offer this kind of stuff, so we're kind of limited to offshores anyway. But yeah, even like Bet Online, one of the main offshores, like they had only 3 or 4 options for this. So I haven't seen a lot there so far. I know that our guy Kanish was out there touting Weekend for first song Starboy. Is that what it's called? Starboy? And I think that's all been pulled now. So that's all gone. I don't see, the anthem stuff. We'll see. The 2 minutes is interesting. I'd lean pretty heavily under there. That's going to be an interesting one because we've kind of had like a guy who has a guy who has a guy the last couple of years, and we've been able to get a bit of an inside track on that. But I don't think that's going to happen this year because it's just not as many boots on the ground with the whole COVID thing, right? So we might be guessing on that one. We might not have the inside info, but I still like the under 2. I know I heard some people thinking about maybe the duet would stretch it out a bit, but like that doesn't make sense to me. It seems a little backwards. What do you think? Are they like alternating lines like Castles in the Sand or whatever that song is?
Yeah, I guess that is it. That would be the way that would make sense, right? If they were alternating, whereas if they're singing together, you got to assume the pace is
exactly. You got to keep the notes tight. You got to, you're not drawing out notes when you're doing singing together.
This is why I love where we're at in the Super Bowl props offered, because you and I are having like a serious conversation about how a duet might affect the length of a national anthem.
Yeah, and I mean, just in general, we've seen it come in at around $1.55. So I think you really need to be confident and have a good reason. So maybe that's what's happening. I think it's around 2 minutes last time I saw. So maybe that's what's happening. People are seeing the duet and getting some oversteam there. But yeah, we've seen it come in at about $1.55. I think last year was $1.53. So I don't know. I think you really need a good reason to feel like that's going to go over.
Yeah. Let's talk about this Me Cole one, because this one is pretty fun. What do you got here? Yeah,
this is maybe the only sort of long shot I like here. So, I was looking at Sammy Watkins a little bit, but now his health's not looking so good. So most yards from scrimmage, I think Me Cole is a nice value here. I don't see much value in the Tyreek and Travis Kelce. There's just too many other outcomes to be paying $220. But yeah, Hardman, I mean, we haven't seen a 100-yard game from him yet. He's had a few in the kind of 80, 90-yard range, but he also hasn't really had the volume. So we just need a little bit of volume here, and we need him to, take a punt back and then score another touchdown, maybe a long touchdown. Well, the punt doesn't count. Sorry. I was thinking of DFS for a second there. But yeah, I mean, I think he's got some 90, 100, 120-yard games in his outcomes there. It's certainly at 2,000, it's worth a shot. I mean, if this was like 1,200 plus 1,200, I'd leave it. But at 2,000, I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I think he has a few things going for him. And this is just total yards from scrimmage, right? Not just receiving.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, because we saw him, he had the 50-yard rush in the game against the Bills. And the other big encouraging thing was he had that fumble, right? And everyone kind of assumed he was going to get benched, never see the light of day again. And they went right back to him. I think it was the next drive down at the goal line, manufacturing a bubble screen for him at the red zone. So it seems like they have more faith in him. And then if we want to try to get my hand in the dirt with some more narratives, I mean, after what Tyreek Hill did to them in their first matchup, you got to imagine that they're going to direct a little extra attention to him. And maybe Cole is the one who benefits on the opposite side of the field, stretching it.
Yep, I like that angle for sure. And just to be clear here, like there's two separate sections. So there's most scrimmage and then most receiving yards. And you can see Cole's plus 1,600. So I think you might as well just go most scrimmage yards, because if he gets 130 yards and somehow Fournette gets 140, well, that's just a bad beat. Like if he gets 130 yards, we're pretty live there. So I think that's a bit more value there from scrimmage yards. Anything else on this board you like maybe like a Godwin 700 and Evans plus 100? I don't like any of the running backs here.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, I would say if Antonio Brown were to miss, I think Scotty Miller would be very, very interesting. Just because we've seen him kind of take over that stretch X role when Antonio Brown's out, but that seems more dependent on that. I'm not seeing a lot. I'm already invested in Mike Evans in our FFPC playoff challenge. If he outscores Brady and Godwin by, I believe it's like 9 or 10 points, we win $500,000. So I'm not going to project. Yeah, we're live. I mean, it's a very thin outcome for him to outscore those guys by that much, but we are live to win if he just goes nuclear and say Antonio Brown throws one of the passes and a trick play and said, we need a weird outcome, but it's there.
Is that with Pat, that team?
Yeah, that's with our Leone and Gretch and Pat, dude. Those teams we made. So, but anyways, I'd like to tell myself Evans might have a shot there, but I think Hardman, the guy you identified, is the play there.
Yeah, I think he's got the most value there. I mean, Evans, obviously like Tyreek has the best shot or of anybody other than Kelsey, but yeah, I don't see any value at those prices. So I'm trying to take a couple long shots here, and Hardman is really the only guy that has those realistic high-end outcomes. I think like we're not going to see it from Gronk or Sammy. I would like Sammy Watkins if he was healthy. I originally had him earmarked if he was a little bit more healthy, but.
Yeah, someone was just asking about Sammy Watkins in the chat, if I can find that one. Oh, if Sammy plays, how do we feel? I feel his props are too low. I see yards at 39.5. It sounds like you kind of like the lean over there too.
Yeah, let's see what projections have here for him. I think that they're quite low on him as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing like an average of around 37.
Yeah. I mean, I like it in theory. I think it's worth a sprinkle. Sammy's tough. I've been a famous Sammy fader for years. I faded him a bunch this year, and just I don't know. You never really can predict when that guy's going to blow up. So I like in theory. I think there's a bit of value there, but nothing would surprise me with the skill players in this game. Like I think the range of outcomes are so wide open, and that's why I like some of these longer shots.
You mentioned earlier when we were talking, about a lot of your main goal is just getting the right price, even if it doesn't necessarily specifically align with your personal football take or whatever. Do you think about correlating your bets in a way of like, I think this game's going to go nuclear. I think there's going to be 70 points. I'm betting overs or vice versa. Or are you just kind of looking at all of these in a vacuum?
Yeah, I treat every bet individually, and I try to determine if that bet is plus EV or not. And then I'll move on to the next one. And if it's plus EV, we'll take it. And if it's not, it's not. I might take some of that stuff into consider. Like, if anything, I go the other way, right? Like, I'm not trying to predict how the game's going to play out. I'm basically taking the Vegas odds and using that as a guide to tell me how it's going to play out. I don't have a lot of takes on the football games anymore because I'm playing props. So really, I'm just taking what the market is telling me, and I'm just trying to find the value within that. So if Vegas is telling me that this is going to be a fast game and it's going to be close, then I'm not really going to stand here and say, well, I think otherwise, because that's probably a losing strategy in the long term. Those markets are way more efficient than what I can figure out. So I'm using them as a guide and just sort of making these bets in a vacuum. It's plus EV or it's not. So that's how I'm approaching it. And then, obviously things can change, right? Like we saw the Rojo is under 3.5 is plus 135 now. Well, the math is different on there now. So now I'm going to approach that bet again individually. But no, I'm not trying to correlate. And if anything, I'm a little worried about correlating too much sometimes. Like we're expecting this game script, so I like this under and that under and this over. But like if it doesn't work out, now I got 3 props that might go down the tube. So I'm pretty careful with that. I try not to correlate too much, if anything. I'm sort of taking an opposite approach to DFS in a lot of ways. Trying to avoid correlation, trying to avoid variance. Like DFS players want variance. I don't want variance.
Right, because there's upside that you can capture in DFS that can't be captured in these more just binary markets. Let's hit on a few others. We got some chats coming in. I saw my guy Willis asking about Gatorade here. What's your favorite bet on Gatorade color? I like blue at plus 800. It seems like you had a lean here.
Yeah, man. Like this orange plus 125 is nuts. I don't get why this isn't at least minus 150. It was orange last year when KC won. KC's the favorite. So like, why? I think they're probably just going to run it back. Tampa Bay's, I guess, a bit more of an unknown, but like they've got sort of the orange uniforms, I guess. I don't know if that's an angle or not, but maybe blue for a flyer. I think orange is a good value, to be honest with you. Like plus 125, I think the consensus here is that should probably be at least minus 150 based on what we saw last year. And orange is sort of the standard, right? Like that's the basic color.
There you go. All right. You heard it here first. Bet the prop whale play. Orange Gatorade at plus 125. Let's see. What else? What other questions we got? We got my guy, Nick Bird. Any love for Breland plus 350 to get an interception? He's gotten one the last 3 teams facing Brady.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, sure. I don't know that I would want to play like the specific versus Brady thing. Like I think those are pretty tiny samples. But yeah, if we've seen him, you basically have to ask yourself. So at plus 350, you got to ask yourself, like, okay, so what is our break-even point? Our break-even point is 22.2% of the time. So, I would suggest looking back historically at what is his interception rate, like his actual rate, and then comparing it to the amount of attempts we're expecting from Brady, and then just compare those two numbers. So we need to break even. We need to win 22.2% of the time to break even. How often is he getting an interception? How much more often is he getting an interception in this game with the volume we're expecting, and just sort of compare those two numbers. But yeah, just at first glance, I mean, 350 seems pretty solid if we've seen him putting up some numbers this year.
Yeah, and that's good. That I think a lot of prop bet shows are just going to tell you which play they like. Cort actually teaching us how to fish there, showing us how to do the math and, apply this to other bets with, kind of creating our own thoughts on whether a bet is good based on that historical data. So I think that's good stuff there. And there's also little tools out there for implied odds calculators too. If you want to look, you can type in the plus 325, quickly converts it to an implied probability, and then can send you down that path of trying to reconcile if it's a good bet or not. Let's see here. We got a couple other fun ones in here. Anything else you want to hit that has been interesting to you?
If you can get that, I think it might be wrecked now, but if you can get the KC team total rushing yards under 19.5, and honestly, it might even be worth paying the juice if it's like kind of minus 160. Again, I don't, right? Yeah, 90.5 team total rushing yards. I think that's pretty pretty optimistic. Chiefs aren't going to be wanting to run much. And then, of course, Tampa Bay on the other side has the best run defense in the league. Vita Vea's there, and not many teams have flirted with 100 versus them. So I wouldn't mind paying a little juice on that. If you can find it. I think it's on DK still somewhere. Another one that's interesting, one of the really trendy things we heard this week was a lot of people talking about Tampa Bay getting the ball first because of their sort of decision making on the coin toss. So the consensus seems to be that Tampa Bay has a better chance of getting the ball first. And if that happens, like a lot of these props are already gone in terms of score first and stuff like that, but there's still some stuff out there, especially offshore, like the first down, first catch.
Yeah.
With players and stuff like that. I think there might be a bit of value there because a lot of this, like the actual who will score first is gone, but like the first catch and stuff, like those derivatives aren't really being adjusted in real time. So a lot of times you can still, I think there's some value there on like the Bucks first stuff, like maybe like a Bucks player first catch, Bucks first down, stuff like that.
Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier that we're still going to probably see some movement in these lines and the juice. Are there any other tips you have for people as far as, trying to get in on something early versus maybe waiting for something to swing too far in the other direction before the game starts?
Yeah. I mean, some of this advice won't be helpful this week, but in general, I like to bet my overs early in the week. Before the public can really get to them, because the public does love its overs. So the closer we get to game time, the less value you're generally going to find on overs. So when I do want to bet overs, I want to get it when the market opens before the public's really touched it. So bet your overs early, bet your unders late if you can, because again, the public just loves overs. This year especially, it's been crazy, man. Like the amount of primetime steam late in the day. I really wouldn't be surprised if this Tyreek moves to 8.5 by Sunday morning. So yeah, the over steam's been crazy this year. So that's a decent bit of advice in general for next year going forward. Don't wait till late in the week to bet your overs.
Yeah, that sounds sharp. And then if people want to hop in the Bet the Prop Slack, obviously you don't make any promises on how many more bets are coming, but do you guys think you'll have any more official plays for the Super Bowl coming up?
It's possible. Like, I think a couple of the ones we've thrown around in here are possibilities, kind of flirting with that Fournette one, the Brait one. I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely have a few more leans and fun ones to throw out. Like I say, I mean, it's these lines are super efficient. I'm a bit of a nit, so I don't mind just kind of taking what they give me and moving on to the next week. I know doesn't get people super excited. And actually, I just want to ask, hey, if Matt Jones is out there, Matt Jones sent me a list of the stuff he bet with his buddy that I was going to throw out here. And I just noticed that he has tails minus 105 that he bet. And I don't know if you're out there.
What do you know, Matt Jones? This high school math teacher, taking vig on a 50-50 bet here.
Yeah. So I don't like that one, but he's got some other stuff in here, like the 2-point conversion attempt for plus 140. That seems pretty good. Yeah, I like that one. These teams are both, well, KC is very aggressive, Tampa Bay less so, but Tampa Bay could be trailing. They have a better chance to be trailing, so they could be going for it. So I like that one, plus 140, and I think it was like plus 230 for the convert 2-point conversion. So those are both nice. Hardman first TD plus 1400. That's kind of fun. The missed extra point plus 170. I'm not too sure about. I think you could get the doink for quite good odds. That might be kind of fun. We've seen some doinks in the playoff here.
How are we defining a doink? Does it have to hit it super flush, or can we just have it just the tip?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know if it can be full up or just the tip or not. I don't know.
I think it's determined by how many people write doink on Twitter after. If that volume reaches a certain amount, then it's clearly a doink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so good stuff there. Actually, one other one I had. Has there been anything in the prop builder, like the other kind of players versus each other? I guess I'm referencing the Bet Online stuff. Has there been anything good?
I'll look through it now. I think we've kind of gone through them all. You know what? Here, I'll share my screen with you, and we can have a look at them ourselves. Secure.
Yeah, those ones, I know those are the ones that will often, that Cort, when he puts them out in the Bet the Prop Slack on the prop builder ones, the line moves so quickly or at least the juice does on those, which is the benefit of moving quickly on those.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the head-to-heads are crazy value, man. We've been doing those for a few years, and honestly, sometimes they're a little bit too good to be true. They probably won't be this week. Let's see what they have here. So we go into the quick picks head-to-head. So yeah, there we go. So we got maybe there's some interesting ones here. AB over Watkins minus 135. It's interesting. All these are pretty heavily juiced. Watkins over Brait minus 154. All these are pretty heavily juiced. Going to get long shots. Yeah, see, that's bad. Godwin over Hill plus 133. I don't really like that.
Godwin versus Hill receptions.
Godwin versus Hill receptions?
Oh, okay. No, I was just seeing right there. It was.
Oh, sorry. I'll.
You
know what?
I was just. I couldn't tell what it said on there. I was trying to make it bigger.
Plus 135. Plus 165 for Godwin. But you got to keep in mind there on the builder, a push is a loss.
Yeah.
Unlike on DK, where a push is a push. So yeah, I don't play a lot of the reception head-to-heads because obviously we got a higher chance of getting a push there. So yeah, I don't see. Go ahead.
Oh, maybe do they have any fun rushing ones of the Rojo versus Fournette or CEH versus Durrell?
Okay, those are interesting. So yeah, CEH versus Rojo. Rojo is a pretty heavy favorite there, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
plus 102 on CEH is kind of interesting. CEH Leonard Fournette, that's crazy juice. I don't really like that. So here you go, Darrell Williams versus Ronald Jones, minus 111, minus 135. What do the projections say on that?
Yeah, it looks like rushing Durrell average around 25 and Rojo average around 37. So definitely lean the Rojo side there, although the juice is kind of reflecting that.
Yeah, I don't. That's a problem. It's just like a lot of these have already been hammered. They're definitely juicier in the regular season. Sammy over Gronk. Do you have any feelings on Gronk at all? I sort of want to fade him, but do you like him?
Yeah, I think he's, we were talking about him a bit on the Swolecast yesterday. Tuttle is, granted, that's also price and ownership contextual, but he was pretty interested in Gronk here. And I think this does set up like a nice spot for Gronk. Last time they played 6 for 106. They continue to kind of use him over the middle a lot. So I like Gronk. Yeah,
no, I've come off it a bit. I quite like the under 2.5 receptions when I first looked at it. But yeah, I came off it a bit. I certainly think he's got some big games in his outcomes. And it's just so much uncertainty for me with these skill players. You know what I mean? It's pretty tough for me to take a strong position.
Yeah. Well, this was a lot of fun. Like I said at the top of the show, a lot of this stuff, the lines move quickly. You need to do price shopping to really make sure you're getting it in good. But the guys over at Bet the Prop will help shepherd you in the right direction with this stuff. And outside of that, there's still some lines here where you can get it in good, even if you weren't first of the party. So anything else here, Cort, before we wrap up?
No, man. If you want to try us out, we'll set you up. We got props going. We got NBA. We're gonna have all sorts of other stuff going. As far as the Super Bowl goes, I know people don't want to hear it, but go small. If you want to blast a bunch of bets, just go small. That's my recommendation.
Yep. Yeah. It's never fun to say that. You don't want to be the guy on the DFS shows talking about bankroll management nonstop, but it is.
I got a fun one. I got Cool Cats I haven't opened. Do you want to do that before we go?
Look at this. Trojan horsing a little top shot into here.
Been sitting on it all week. I know you told me it was minus EV to sit on it all week, but
honestly, you got a really nice bump because they introduced that Master Challenge, which is now kind of propped up the value of those cards moments more than I think they would have otherwise.
Gotcha. Because people are trying to get the full collection.
Yeah. So when you do this, do share and then do the specific Chrome tab and select the box that says include audio, because we got to hear the bump in Cool Cats music.
Okay. I shared, but I didn't see should I stop this share and try again?
Yeah. Okay. Stop the share, stop the steal. Okay. Go to share screen, Chrome tab, and then there's a little box down there that says share audio.
Okay. I gotcha.
All right. Here we go. All right, guys, look at this. You hang around for a prop bet show and you get a little top shot at the end.
All right, man. I'm pumped. I've only opened 2 packs before of these, so
let me hit open, and I want to see which cool cat we're rooting for based on the market prices right now. Who's fetching the most? I believe it's still Booker.
Good idea, because I haven't looked this week at all. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, so Booker floor at 338, and then the rest of them are all around 250, 255. So definitely rooting for a Booker here if you're flipping.
What are the ones in the 250 range we're looking for?
Yeah, so there's Rui at 265, Derek Jones Jr. 250, Tobias 250, John Collins 255. So I guess order of preference would be Booker, Rui, then John Collins.
All right, man. We ready?
Yep, let's do it. Yes, as Lou says, smash the like button. Oh, get the music. I love the Cool Cats music too. Look at this. I didn't think I was going to get the club right at 1:30.
Is your audio okay?
It's a little loud, but that's got a part of the club experience.
Oh, you know what? Okay, whatever. Wall dunk.
Ooh, John Wall dunk. There you go. What's that cereal?
Cereal is where are we here? 6,002. So right in the middle.
Nice. And that's already at a 12,000, so it's capped.
Is it capped? Okay. Not bad.
Yep. LE confirmed by Willis there. Ooh.
Oh.
There you go.
Is that the Booker?
That's the Booker. The Cool Cat going for almost $75, $80 more than the rest of them. Very nice. That's the Cool Cat you want. Three. Ooh. Let me see that's for these guys.
I like it.
I don't think that one's limited yet. All right, that's a $4 one. You know, you're living. Ooh. Bojan, another one of my Bogdans for me to mix up on stream. It wouldn't be a stream without me mixing up one of these dudes.
All right, man. One more Booker for the road?
There's one Cool Cat in here, but let's see.
Oh, Roby. All right. Ooh, that's nice.
That's a solid pack.
The Cool Cats music. I can't hear what you're saying. You like the pack?
Yeah, I think that's a solid pack there. The like I said, the Devin Booker, you can flip that right away for around probably 325, and then that John Wall is nice because it's limited. Some of these other are still you see the plus 1,500, meaning there's more moments to come there, but that John Wall one will forever be out of 12,000. So yeah, very nice.
Nice, man. Well, I haven't had a chance to catch up on your content this last week. What are we seeing in this market? Are we still pretty bullish and excited? More kind of a long-term thing and wait till these guys get their site together?
Yeah, I mean, this past week has been interesting. We saw like kind of one of the first big market corrections, which felt necessary considering kind of the euphoria and how everything was going up. That seemed like it was necessary and imminent. And then they did another pack drop last night. They were testing out a new way to do it. It was like you were randomized into a queue. Yep. And then, so yeah, that I think went fairly successful. Some people found a way to exploit it and get some extra packs. So I think those are the kinks they're still working out. But yeah, I think I'm still definitely bullish on it long term, but I'm still also treating it like a very speculative, very risky investment. So, but people are having a ton of fun with it. Despite all the kind of negativity around their kinks and their beta, I think they are overall doing a good job of trying to meet the insane demand that they have right now.
Yeah, man. I don't think, I'm sure you've covered a lot of this, but like, I don't think people realize like the undertaking they're trying to do. Like the numbers and the volume they're dealing with is insane, and they're kind of doing something that's never been done before. And these technical challenges are crazy. These coding challenges. So
yeah,
and for me, I'm comforted by the fact that it's NBA licensed, and like the NBA does a pretty good job, and I don't think they would give that gig to people who are going to screw it up,
for
so
sure.
that gives me some long-term confidence in holding some of these buys. But yeah, so you think I should flip Booker?
I would, yeah, I would take advantage of that. The only consideration would be, this is what I would like. Say if you had interest in maybe trying to complete the challenge, I do think there's a chance there's like a fire sale, the last 10 to 12 hours, but I still think the move is to sell it now. And then if you get really intrigued by some of the prices, you could always buy back in. And I guarantee you can get Booker for less, probably closer to the deadline. So I think the play is to flip it now.
That makes sense. Right on, man.
It's just such good EV on that pack too. I mean, you're turning a $14 pack like immediately into a $315 profit at minimum.
Yeah, that's sick, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, nice. So yeah, as I said, guys, Cort Smith, one of the sharpest dudes I know, just a really excellent product and community over at Bet the Prop. If you guys are looking, as someone who has been now with the Top Shot Discord and trying to foster a good community, I've learned how hard that is with the more people you get in, especially people who are looking to make money quickly. And Cort has, definitely navigated that over in the Bet the Prop Slack. So I definitely recommend checking that out.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that our community is so awesome, so positive, so helpful, and I've gone to personal lengths to kind of keep the toxicity out of it and make it a really awesome place. And so far, it's been good. So I'm pretty stoked about that. So if you're looking for a place, people doing it right, and an awesome community, try us out. If you don't like it, we'll give you your money back.
Yep. And just to give you guys a bit of an update on other show schedule stuff. So 3 p.m., I'm going to hop over to Joe Holka's YouTube channel. We're going to do kind of a rundown of Showdown, doing a first look at stuff like that. And then tonight, 8 p.m., we're doing a splash play, Super Bowl hang. We made our own ride or die prop bet sheets there. So if you guys want to come hang out with Spags and friends and I tonight, and then I'm going to do a Showdown show Sunday at noon as well. Once we have more kind of updated ownership, hopefully the injury news is solidified by then. So that is my schedule for the weekend. Appreciate you guys hanging out here. Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you to Cort. Check out Bet the Prop. I'm Peter Overzet. Good luck with your cool cats, your bets, your packs. We'll see you guys next time.